we are awaiting the special board meeting of the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District Board of Trustees. They're having a special meeting tonight to, it looks like, to approve the MOU between the school district and the teachers union, possibly in regards to the high school and the older kids, the 7th through 12th graders, to get on campus. They also have an agenda item here to approve an agreement for consultant services who will look for a new superintendent. And there's also something here on extracurricular and co-curricular activities that they're going to discuss, and then that should be about it. It should be a quick meeting.
Falls graph here.
Adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Mike, second. Thank you. Mr. King, any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes this evening.
Okay, let's call for the vote.
Falls graph, aye. Mike Fox, aye. Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
No YouTube or anything.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. King, do you have any comments or?
I do. So I'm very pleased to report to the board this evening that within a relatively short time, both teams were able to come to an agreement with this addendum that you have before you tonight. This addendum reflects or adds on to the original MOU dating back to August 7, 2020, regarding working conditions during the pandemic for the 2021 school year. This particular addendum is in regards to grades 7 through 12, as we've entered for our county into the red tier, which, as we've discussed, is the next tier that allows the return of students in grades 7 through 12 under the guidelines, which means a hybrid instructional model. That instruction is due to begin Monday, April 12th, following our spring break. Remember when we're reopening, we refer to stable groups as opposed to cohorts. So when we talk about stable groups, the size of that group is depending on the amount of students you can fit in the instructional classroom. So we are using the 6-foot distancing as our guideline. The state, well, the CDC said you can go down to 3 feet, which we can, but as we discussed before, there's really nothing advantageous to us making that adjustment at this time that we can't do within the 6 feet. So I went through 3 reasons at the last board meeting as to why it really doesn't serve us well at this point to make that adjustment. And I also stated previously that, and it is also in this MOU under paragraph 6, there really won't be any other changes that we're going to do as a district, because we need some consistency and stability for students returning. Barring, again, in paragraph 6, unless the state or county says you must close. So if they direct us to do something, of course we'll do that. Paragraph 3 talks about the district implementing all the cleaning and sanitation protocols we've put in place that you're familiar with by now. Paragraph 4 talks about the return to on-site learning as being feasible, consistent and applicable with state and local directives and all the orders of the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. Paragraph 5 ensures that we provided our employees with an opportunity to at least begin the vaccination cycle, which we have. And I want to commend our Human Resources Department for making that available. And also the employees will be granted release time if they need to complete that vaccination cycle during work hours. On paragraph B, I'm not going to discuss that very much. We've discussed at length how we've addressed the HVAC, filtration systems, and airflow. And so that's reflected in the previous addendum approved by the board. Increased workload, again, is the same as the K6 addendum that the board previously approved. Again, we're going to ensure that all of our teachers have 2 days of prep time. For teachers in grades 7 through 12, one of those prep days will be on Wednesday, March 31st, and there'll be a second one of their choice within the 10-day period prior to April 12th. It's a little longer than 10 days just because of the timing of our spring break as well, but that's good. We wanted to ensure a safe, distraction-free virtual learning environment. The district technology team will assist teachers in putting Zoom security features in place, similar to what we have tonight here at the board meeting, meaning that the host or the teacher can turn microphones off, they can turn them on, they can do the same with video. So we'll be able to exercise those same features in the classroom and support them in that regard. There's a paragraph here that you'll notice regarding the ability to work from home. So during virtual instruction, teachers will still, again, as you saw in the previous addendum, have the ability to work from home. But if the district saw that the teacher was having difficulty doing that, then we're going to work with that teacher. We're going to support them by meeting with them at minimum of 2 times. And then eventually, if we have to direct them to come in, we would do that. But that's certainly not the intent. We want to support our teachers, and we don't expect that to be an issue. We know that we have terrific teachers here and don't foresee that being an issue. Either party can reopen this addendum. And then finally, unit members who provide documentation of caring for others at home or having underlying health conditions are directed to meet with our HR department, and we can help and see if there's any way that we can accommodate them with some sort of bridge assignment, for example. So that concludes my comments. And then attached, of course, you see the schedule. I think the schedule is very comprehensive and will allow for all of our students to have in-person instruction in all of their periods.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments?
I'd like to thank the association representatives for working with the district. This is not so much as a negotiation as it is about being informed to the work environment, the safety of the work environment for both the employees and the students. So a lot of things that are brought up in here are coming in from other places, other agencies where people are talking and saying, we have this, it's effective, we have this, it's not effective. So I appreciate the hard work everyone has done. And the spirit of this was not contentious. It was to provide a safe work environment and classroom for our students. So thank you.
Mike, do you have anything?
No, thank you to staff and to teachers for your flexibility to get the kids back in the classroom.
Just thank you to everybody involved for coming up with this agreement and getting the kids back to school. I personally appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Jorgensen, do you have anything?
Just appreciate the hard work. Thanks.
Yeah, I would like to echo that. This is, like you stated, getting an MOU done quickly, and that shows that our teams really worked well together and worked really hard. So thank you to our HR department and Ada for working so hard. We know this is a lot, and we appreciate your efforts. Mr. King, just for clarification for our public, this means that all the 12th graders that want to return will return.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody realizes that, because if we're saying to 12th grade, I don't want them to assume that 12th grade is staying the way it is currently, that we can bring them all back.
Thank you. That's
so this is for all any seniors that want to return. Thank you.
I have a question. To that point, can all freshmen, juniors, and sophomores return as well?
Yes.
Yes, this
Good,
is 7/12, yes.
Good, so everybody's clear.
So basically, everybody can come back that wants to come back.
Perfect, as long as they're on the days and the cohorts
Right.
and everything. Perfect, thank you.
And I would like to also mention that this schedules are hard to do, and I just want everyone to appreciate the hard work and effort that went into the schedule. It looks fantastic, so thank you so much. With that, I think we need to call for the vote.
Paulsgraf, aye.
Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jordan tonight.
Kelly Jensen, aye, and that's a 5-0. That passes. Thank you very much once again. Next, we have 4B, Leader Associates Agreement for Consultant Services not to exceed $14,950 for a superintendent search. Can I get a motion?
Mike Fox, so moved.
Chad Wadsworth, seconds.
Thank you. Let's turn it over to Mr. King. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, I do have a few comments to make. The first thing is, this is a little unusual in that we're going to take action on the item, and then once it's approved, if it's approved, then Dennis Smith is online, and he's the representative from Leadership Associates that will be sharing the process. And so we want to do that in that order because it's difficult to have him do a presentation if the board hasn't approved the contract. So with that, I want to make some introductory comments, and then I'll go over the parameters of the contract. March 11th, when I announced that I was leaving the district, was very difficult because it's bittersweet. But I want to be really clear, particularly there was a headline in a newspaper today that there was some assumptions made, both about the newspaper article and also about other things. You know, the timing with the February 25th layoffs. You know, people were asking, well, is it because of that board meeting? Is it because of layoffs? Is it because of charter litigation? No, no, and no. I'm leaving the district on my own volition. And I'm leaving the district in a good way. I'm going on a new charter, new path, new journey, and I'm looking forward to it. But it's bittersweet. So when I made that announcement March 11th, just understand that's where that emotion was coming from, not because of you know, being pushed out or some litigation or some sort of push-pull kind of negative dynamic. So I just wanted to be clear about that. I've been honored and privileged to serve the community of Acton Agua Dulce. I've served and will continue to serve at the pleasure of this board. And it's important that I say these comments in the context of bringing forward this contract, because I don't want anybody to feel uneasy on our board or the public or our presenters this evening, because I'm very proud of all of them, and I enjoy working with these folks very, very much. I choose to do something different. I drive 150 miles a day with no problem because I've enjoyed the work that I've done for the past 4 years. So tonight is not uncomfortable for me at all, and I appreciate being able to share that with you tonight, board. I proudly introduced Dennis Smith to the board and community 3 years ago, and since then he's continued to support me and this board and community. Mike Fox was president when I was hired. Ken Falsgraf was the board clerk, and I don't regret for a single moment acting as your superintendent for the past 4 years. It's time for someone else to pick that torch up and carry on the good work that we've all been able to do. And I will now share the parameters of the contract with Leadership Associates. So tonight you're considering a contract that is made this 30th day of March 2021 with Leadership Associates. In the contract, they're referred to as the contractor. Acton Agua Dulce is referred to as the district. The contract, as previously read, is for $14,950 to be paid in 2 installments. The contractor agrees to hold the district harmless and indemnify the district and its officers and agents, and that's an important clause in the contract. It's an independent contract, and they're not acting as an officer or an agent of the district, nor is any payment that you're making to Leadership Associates a contribution to the state teachers retirement system, which is also important for the board to know. The fee that you're entertaining this evening includes consultations with the Board of Education, a development and posting of the job description, announcing the position, acceptance of applications, responding to all inquiries, recruitment of candidates, background checks, gathering of community and staff input, coordinating of all the logistics, scheduling appointments, notifying candidates, unsuccessful candidates, scheduling community visits, assisting in the development of interview questions, assisting the board's administrative assistant throughout the process, acting as an advisor to the Board of Education, and assisting the new superintendent and the board through the transition and the community verification process if conducted. So that's a summary of what is before you this evening, and if there's anything I can answer or help in any way, I'm happy to do that.
Let's go around. Mr. Felsgraf.
Yeah, GoPro's going on. I want what I said, what I'm saying captured here. So be advised. I'll start by saying this. We are 5 individual board members, each of us having 20% of the vote on any issue. And we are each elected by majority public vote. The voters have put each one of us here. So I don't need a father. I don't need a debate, or I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and then I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to be respectful and listen to the other opinions of the board. What I'm about to say may not reflect the other opinions of people. I'll start by saying this. Given the local pressure that comes with filling the top administrative position in the district, I feel it is necessary to retain an independent, objective party to ensure that the best candidate is found and then confirmed. When you look at the process defining the agenda attachments, which, by the way, staff, thank you for putting everyone up there, everything up there, so the public understands how a candidate, including candidates who are looking at this position, might look at and understand the process ahead of time, so there are no surprises. This board has come a really long ways in making stuff available for the public to understand and to question if necessary. But I want you to know that you will see within this process there is plenty of room for those who wish to relate their specific interests or even advocate for a specific candidate of their choice. And you just have to know that, right, everyone else will have that same opportunity. And I love the equity of process that this contract provides for. Is Dennis with us tonight?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Dennis, if there are any questions out there from the public about why we chose this firm, well, Dennis and his team members have assisted this district in the development of strategic plan and in board cohesion exercises in the past. The firm was instrumental in staffing the district with a contracted superintendent, that being Mark Scavarna, when Mr. King's predecessor resigned. I'll skip that next part there. Dennis, before we get going here, I would like to publicly acknowledge the work your firm and especially you have done in the way of professionalizing and normalizing the business of administrating this district. I believe that your experience makes you politically savvy enough to understand some of the things I'm about to say. I'm not sure everybody is, so let's start here. I think there are some things. There are many moving parts that are going to accompany this contract that will affect this district's administration and its fiscal situation for some time down the road. And I need to, given the way I'm about to vote on this, I need my thought process to be understood, again, not debated or convinced, but this is what I need you to know. Mr. King talked about this school district caught in fraud scheme. That is a great clickbait title to get you to read it. I hope you all read it. Some of the social media comments suggest that maybe some people haven't, but it is what it is. I'd like to thank Julie Drake and AV Press for actually printing this. Our community needs to be informed as to what's really going on, regardless of where that information is coming from, even 20 miles away. But while I'm on this article references a few other people and entities. First is the HESA school district. The superintendent of that district, in this case, unlike Mr. King or any of the employees of this district, were not criminally charged in the case. The board over there responded to this problem by hiring a new superintendent that took on several combined roles to lessen the sudden fiscal impact when the district lost charter revenue, and that impact would be on the students of the district. They are served by a reduction in the cost of management overhead. That's the bottom line. For the record, the entirety of the court payback for DeHeso was $65,500. I don't understand that, but I'm not the judge making the ruling. Next, the article references Mr. King's predecessor. I remember board meetings and even Acton Town Council candidate forums in which I was told I was wrong. Apparently the judge is wrong too. It's unfortunate that people can't show up here tonight and tell us, but I don't know where they are, and I don't know where them and the former employees of the district that continue to play an ever-morphing version of the same tired game in yet another place with another set of gullible board members. I don't know. Next, and lastly, there are references to another charter in this article, one I think we were familiar with. Where's the leadership of that charter now, and the board members that directed the train to the end only to dump the fiscal responsibilities ultimately on the backs of this district students and staff? I don't know where they are. But to the observer, you have been able to tell what's been happening if you've been watching the warrant register. So enough of that. But this does come into significant consideration when it comes to how we fill this position. We are considering the contract to conduct a superintendent search and appointment. I've made it clear to my fellow board members and through references in recent board meetings and in the press that will print it that I favor an internal promotional opportunity for the purpose of filling the superintendent vacancy. This would have to include an organizational restructuring to employ existing resources as to leave the money Mr. King has so graciously left on the table to be returned to the general fund budget, which in turn routes it back to the classroom and to the support of enrichment programs unless support is needed for a court-ordered payback to the state for errors of past administrations. We are not in a position to be luxurious right now. We're not in a position to allow someone 6 months to get their family pictures arranged on their desk and to introduce new organizational social initiatives. I just can't learn a new set of buzz phrases right now. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm not sorry. I see a superintendent that rolls up their sleeve and gets to work on a day in, day out basis, like the special education aide that patiently works to help a nonverbal child at Meadowlark, like the lunch person at High Desert, like my principal at Vasquez High School, one that is the first one there in the morning and the last one to leave at night, one that communicates and models the work behaviors they expect from others, one that is clear in their focus, and that focus is on hard work that ultimately is measured on how our students are doing, not a select few, but the entire student body. To this end, I will not dishonor the firm in question with a no vote on this contract this evening. But as I have said several times, I feel the process defining the agenda attachments this evening are necessary. It is the same process that put Mr. King in that spot right there, and he essentially drove the car out of the muddy ditch and put it back on the road of legality. But given the long-term fiscal realities, I will not support a process that seeks to look outside the district first without spending a few days to assure that there are no internal candidates that can be confirmed by the same process before looking to the outside world and the additional expenses that come with both in short and long term. Finally, thank you, Mr. King, for keeping the appropriate distance from this and other matters that will impact your predecessor. Thank you for your patience, Board, Mr. Fox.
I'm sad that we have to be here because I'd like you to be staying. Having said that, congratulations and good luck in the future. And I hope this is a fruitful exercise and we end up with another superintendent that can do good work for us for a period of 4 years at least, and maybe more. I vote for this because I think we need to bring in the best person we can. And internal candidates are welcome to apply, but with the short time window in front of us, I think it's important that we cast our net as wide as we can and give ourselves the best opportunity for finding the best candidate to be in our top spot. And leadership is important. So there you go. I will be voting yes.
I'll just add that I too somewhat agree with Ken in the respect that if we could find somebody internally without jeopardizing another position down the road, that would be great. If we can't, obviously let's find the best person that we can outside of the district. Hopefully somebody that's closer than 100 miles away from where our main office is, so the commute doesn't wear them down, and we don't have to continue down that road again. I want to thank Ms. Jensen for negotiating the contract on this and getting the cost down to conduct the search. That's greatly appreciated. And Mr. King, saddened that you're leaving, and it's unfortunate for all involved that we have to go down this road again so soon. But thank you for your service and good luck in your travels. That's all I have.
Yeah, I just got a couple comments. First off, Mr. King, I want to congratulate you and thank you for your hard work over the past 4 years. You were given a deck that was really mishandled, and you've been able to put it back in order so that the district can continue to move forward in the best interest of our students. Thank you for that, and I wish you the best as you move forward with your career. Regarding, I agree with Ken. I hope that there's an internal candidate. We always should give that opportunity, but the small district that we are, we have to be able to go outside and look for the one that's going to give us the best opportunity that can be here first in, last out on a daily basis to make sure that we can sustain the progress we've made and look out for our future, because things have a long way to go yet. So, yep. Thanks, Mr. King, and we'll move forward.
Thank you. I just want to say that it's a big job. The superintendency is a big job, and we want to make sure that we find the best person to take this position. It's important for our students. We have set, as a board, you set goals for your superintendent, which you'd like to see. There's not necessarily a job description that's created by the board, and also we're going to look at our community and see what they're looking for as well. So this is having somebody like Leadership Associates work with us is a big job. So it's important that you have someone great to work with. Mr. Smith's worked with our board before. He's familiar with what we would like to see from a superintendent. He'll work with us a little bit more in our community, and he listens. And so I'm thrilled that we were able to get a contract, but also with saying that, I don't want you, I want to make sure everybody realizes we didn't just look at one. We did look around, and we wanted to make sure that we are doing something cost effective for our community as well. So, so thank you, Mr. Smith, and your work with us, and we appreciate you. So with that, I will call for the vote.
Paul Scott, abstain.
Mike Fox, aye.
Chad Wentworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
And Kelly Jensen, aye. That's a 4 yes, and then 1 abstain. So thank you. We're going to turn it over to Mr. Smith.
Yes.
We can unmute Mr. Smith. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Very good, thank you. Let me make sure you see me, I'm looking at the agenda items. What kind of view do we have right now? Just
You have the agenda, but what would you like put up, Mr. Smith?
well, maybe just a full view of each other, and then we'll go forward.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, there we go. Thank you, President Jensen and Board of Education. I appreciate the kind words, and I will say this: I've had absolutely the most respect for you, each of you individually, and for Mr. King. I've enjoyed our work together. I think it's been productive, enjoyable, and I just feel the district is in a really good place. Mr. King will be missed, and that's obviously something that everyone feels. But we're honored that you have enough confidence in the firm and in me to move forward with a search that will bring you some outstanding candidates. And those candidates may be inside candidates or outside, but you can measure all those against one another. So thank you for your comments, and Mr. Fallsgrass, thank you. You've always been so honest and straightforward in your words, and I appreciate that, and I think the community does also. So having said that, maybe we can just talk a little bit about the search process and then get a little bit more into detail about what it is that this will be like, and then look at some dates and some times and processes. So Becky, I think you're a co-host, and then we're going to introduce you. Why don't you put up the presentation slide? There's only a few slides to introduce ourselves. Great. So Becky, go ahead to the next one. You know me, but for many people that aren't watching, may not, I'm Dennis Smith. I'm the lead partner for Leadership Associates, and we do approximately 65% of the superintendent searches across the state, and I'm the lead partner for that. And of course, I do also other work, and we've done executive development work and board cohesion work across the state and with Acton Agua Dulce, so I have enjoyed that. Those are the districts I've been superintendent of, from Laguna Beach Unified at 2,500 students to Orange County Public Schools, which is a large district in Florida, about 150,000 students. But I settled in and found a place I loved in Placentia, Yorba Linda, and spent the last 12 years of my career there. And then since that time, past 8 or 9 years, I've been doing this work and leadership development and working with boards on searching and seeking out quality leadership. But I can't do that alone, and I have one amazing person, Becky Banning. I think you're there, Becky. Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi. Thanks for having me. First of all, I want to say it's an honor to be here. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Becky Banning. I've been with Leadership Associates for almost 5 years now as their senior executive assistant. I have over 30 years of school district experience. I have served as an executive assistant to a superintendent in 2 previous districts, one in San Diego County and the other here in Santa Barbara right before I retired. And then this is now my post-retirement job. I love it. I have to say that it feels like I have purpose. I have worked for school districts for so long because I felt it was a calling almost. And I continue to do that in a different way. So I wanted to tell you that if we are the contract, if we move forward, obviously we have, thank you for approving that. I will be working directly with Yolanda, and we will provide her with tools, templates, sample documents, agenda language, Brown Act kind of stuff, so that she doesn't feel like she's caught off guard. I will be really respectful of her time. I know that she's got other responsibilities, this being a new one. She and I will collaborate together, and I will be respectful of her time. We'll try to send her as advance notice as possible when there's things coming down the road that are going to require her assistance. And I have found that it's my experience that by the end of the search, we have developed and we've collaborated together, and we've developed a really positive relationship that sometimes goes on even beyond the search. So thank you for having me, and it's an honor to meet all of you.
Thanks, Becky. And how many searches have you been involved in now in the last 5 years?
In the last 5 years, I've done over 115 searches.
She's a good one. Bilingual, she becomes the administrative assistant's best friend. So Yolanda and Becky have already connected up, and so the two of us will be teaming up closely, working with everyone in the district. Becky, go ahead to the. So this is a little bit about who we are. We won't spend a lot of time, but as we said, we've done we do about 65% of searches. 550 since 96, but you know, districts, Newhall, I did Wilsona right down the road, not too far away, Santa Monica, Malibu, Ken, you're familiar with that, Burbank, Glendora, Corona Norco, Riverside, Bakersfield. So small districts, large districts, we try to service whoever has the need and meet that need. Becky, go ahead. And then just flip through all that. Just about, you know, Becky said it best, is we kind of view it as a calling a little bit. It's a partnership. You know, our goal is, we think every school district should have the highest quality leadership available. I think, Tim, you mentioned that. It's huge. It makes an impact. You've had Larry King. He's a wonderful leader. You need someone like that, and someone that can take the district to the next level. You know, it's interesting. Larry came in way different environment than when he's leaving it. So you need a leader that's ready to pick up where you are now. And so that's our goal: integrity, equity, excellence, diversity, inclusion, accountability, and transparency. We think that's important for ourselves. We also think that's really important in the leaders that we try to recruit. Becky, go ahead. This is just to give you perspective, our statewide reach, who we are. We're a partnership, so we're not consultants. Everybody you see there is an owner in the firm. And so when you say, well, we're working with Dennis or working with Becky, we have all these individuals who will be working with us, recruiting candidates from the northern part of California. We don't know where the next candidate is going to come from, down to the Southern California. So these are all of our partners, former superintendents, really well-respected individuals who will be helping to recruit those candidates. And then, as the board said, you can compare the candidates we bring in with the candidates you have, and create an equal playing field of, well, who's going to be the best person moving forward. Becky, go ahead. And so this is, I think, our final slide about the search process, and we'll get you going on this. The four pieces of the process, it's important. It starts and it ends with you as a board, and you're everything else in between. We report to you. And so how we do that is, the next step is, what we're doing tonight is we're going to talk to you about what you think is important in the superintendent, but then we're going to say, who should we talk to? Who should be the people that we should be interacting with that can give us a deeper perspective and give you a deeper perspective on the qualities and skills and characteristics that are necessary. So we're going to do a lot of interviewing, one-on-one, small group, interviews in multiple languages online to gather community input. The next phase becomes our recruitment. On that input, we'll develop a position description, you'll approve it, and then we'll go out and recruit candidates that meet the needs. I mean, Aadusd, that's a different place. I mean, it is. I mean, look where you're located, the size of the district. This isn't just like anybody off the road is going to be the right person. So it's someone that's really tailored to your community. It's a beautiful place. I've been there many times. It's gorgeous. But it has to be the right person who wants to be part of that community and make a difference. So we're going to recruit candidates that meet the needs that you've expressed and that we know are important to you. And then finally, once we do that, we'll present those candidates to you. You'll see everybody who's applied, but we will have vetted every candidate and given you sort of our views of, based upon our reference checking and vetting of those candidates, who seems to be most closely aligned. But ultimately, you decide who you want to interview. You interview those candidates, and then select the person, and then we assist with those details of interviewing and be part of all that process. And then ultimately, you know, you have your final candidate, and you're ready to roll, hopefully July 1. So that's the process, and I'm going to stop it right now for questions before we move forward on the next steps. So President Jensen, I'll let you see if there's any questions before we talk about the agenda items that we have.
Thank you. We'll start. Do you have anything?
Let's back up just a tad. I appreciate my board. I appreciate my colleagues. I appreciate that I was able to share my opinion on my vote, but I need the public to understand, in respect that there were 4 votes that supported this process. I will be in complete support of this process along the way. So I need everyone to understand that. Dennis, thank you for laying the whole process out here. As I've said before, I think that even candidates, potential candidates, internal or external, will look at this and say, this is a game I'm not going to play. And so the one thing that I want to comment on, I see a lot of school districts having a problem later. You know, it always seems like the first bump in the road of somebody that's hyper vocal and the community doesn't like somebody. We get this social media footprint of one I shouldn't be talking about myself, but I'm not a superintendent candidate. How do you get through where we don't get a surprise down the road that is showing up on social media? Can we talk about that just a tad?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ken. And that is, I didn't actually bring that up, but we really work hard at the no surprises. And we've done a lot of searches, 550, and we've not found the boards to be surprised because we do some really in-depth vetting. You know, I've never found a candidate that has given me or submitted a letter of recommendation that has been a bad letter. Everybody submits a good letter. So we make phone calls, we do vetting, we call teacher associations, we call previous employees, we call the county superintendent, and we have a pretty good connection. So our vetting is very deep, and we tell the board if there's baggage, and sometimes baggage is like, hey, that's just happened, and it isn't this person's fault, here's why it happened, and then you make the decision. So I think we're very, very good at making sure that you have all the information in front of you and that you don't get surprised. We also do some deep background checking through other sources. So I don't think that you'll find yourself in a position of hiring someone and saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. We will have told you that. That's been our experience, and we've been pretty good at it so far.
Dennis, to add on to that, let's pretend that I already knew what you were going to say from experience. Would you say that it's all possible that a situation could arise when you're dealing with people's careers and you're protecting the sanctity of the process, that you found yourself having to tell board members in a closed environment that this candidate here or this candidate there has some issues that we just can't address? Would that information possibly never be revealed to the public?
Right. Good. Very good point. We will have a closed session, and we'll go through that when we go through the timeline, when we present candidates to the board, and I will go through everything I know about that candidate. And sometimes, because you'll get it virtually ahead of time, you may look at a candidate and you may say, oh, I had that person as a #1 A+ candidate. And I said, I understand that, but here's what I know about that candidate based on the information. And so then, generally speaking, then the board will say, oh, well, obviously you knew some things and thank you for sharing that. But the question would be, would the community later know some things about the candidate? They would, but it would only be public information. But you would have had it ahead of time, and then you would have made that decision whether to interview that candidate. I've often told the board, this is not someone that you should consider. This person has a track record, and it's not a good one. And I have no reason to believe he or she will be different in acting Aadusd. Or I might say, this person had this experience. It wasn't good, but here's the reasons why. And then ultimately, your board, you'll make that decision.
Dennis, I'll close by saying that has been my experience with your firm in the past. And I just need the community to understand This isn't about exposing people or making them vulnerable. It's about finding a good professional measurable fit. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Dennis, I really don't have any questions. This is my second time through this rodeo. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
I have nothing to add either. Thank you, Dennis, for being there.
I don't have anything, Dennis. I just look forward to getting busy so we can figure out what's going on. Thank you.
You got it.
I don't really have a question, just more like a comment. When we get to the timeline, Dennis, I want to thank you so much because I just want everyone to know it is a process, but we want to make sure that we have the best candidates. So we didn't want to, that's why we didn't want to wait until late April to start the process, because we want to make sure that we get the best for our students and our families here in the community. So thank you so much.
Good. Okay, so we'll get moving, and I would tell the board that President Jensen could be your lead negotiator because she drives a very hard bargain. Becky, why don't we go look at the agenda and then we'll move through this in a timely way? Okay, so we've covered the introductions and the overview. So let's now, and if the board has your personal calendars in front of you, that would be good because we want to lock down dates for the process. So Becky, turn the timeline on for all to see. We're at March 30th. And so the next time frame is the meeting with staff and community. Now, we're going to go to talk about who we should meet with. Yolanda, are you on this line in verbal for us?
She's in the room. She can hear you, Dennis.
Okay. We're looking at the week of March 19th and Larry, you actually will know this too, to do community input. And we were flexible in that week. Mr. King, does that look like an acceptable week for community input? It'll be 1 or 2 days. It doesn't require the board's participation, and we have to have enough time scheduling in advance to get different groups. Is there anything in that week that would present problems?
No, I think you'd be fine. You want to use anything? I think it's fine. We have a regular board meeting scheduled for Thursday the 22nd. Other than that, it's a very normal week.
Okay.
And just for correction, of course, I think Dennis meant April.
Yeah.
April. Yeah, thank you.
April, what did I say?
You said March.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm living in the past. Sorry. Okay, April 19th, thank you. So then we would advertise it, we'll put this tomorrow morning on our website. We'll immediately get interest and people will see that. But EdCal is the organization that has the highest profile. So we'll advertise it in EdCal on the 19th and the 26th. And then we're looking at deadline of May 7th. So between now and then it takes us several weeks with Yolanda to schedule the input and then the EdCal postings. The 7th seems like a timely closing date. And then we would do our background checks, and that's very extensive. It takes a fair amount of time to do all that and prepare everything ready. So this is the first date for the board. We're flexible here. May 20th, we do this virtually. It's all closed session. You would receive all the applicants ahead of time, all the applications. We would have sort of rated the applicants in tiers that best meet the profile. But let's look at May 20th. We need about 2 to 2.5 hours with the board to go through that. Each applicant to talk about those individuals. So I'm going to stop for a moment to see if that date is acceptable or sometime near then for the board.
Oh, is he pulling us? Okay.
I am sorry. Yeah, I am asking.
He was asking you wanted to look first.
Paul's graph, I'm good with the date.
Mike Fox, I'll support that as well.
I mean, Chad Wadsworth, May 20th works.
Yes, I'll make it work.
Kim,
Yes, works for me.
Okay, fantastic. And then, is this a good time frame? The 6 o'clock, it's a closed session. What's a good time?
I think we should leave the 6:30 time. What do you guys think?
Works for me.
Okay, unless anybody can make it earlier, but.
That's fine.
there's a board meeting that night.
Isn't that the previous week?
Okay, no, we're good. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with the 6:30 because.
And it's virtual.
It's virtual, yeah. It'll work well. And then, Becky, when do you usually try to get all that to the board so they have plenty of time to read everything?
Minimum 3 days in advance, before their meeting. It depends on how many applications we get. And the board should know that we provide you not only with the application packets, but like Dennis said, they will be rated in tiers. We will also provide you with a confidential summary, like an outline of every candidate in an alphabetical order. The recommended candidates will be indicated on there. And we also provide you with a draft of interview questions for you to consider, as well as the interview schedule, a template of what the schedule might look like on the day or days of the interviews. So 3 days minimum. We could probably do more sooner if you need more time.
President Jensen, what are your thoughts on that? Are we there? Am I on mute?
You're not
I can
muted.
hear you.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, Dennis. I don't know what are you talking, we'll have the information by the 16th, Friday the 16th?
Yeah. So I think we're good then. So so that's that date. So we'll lock that down, and then we're looking at June 5th, and that's a Saturday. I know many of the board members are in a position where that's a better day, and often it's a better day for candidates. It's also a quieter day. There aren't a lot of people at the district office, et cetera. So we're looking at locking down June 5th. It's a full day, 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock or 5:30 to interview the candidates. We try to have 2 rounds. The beginning, first round of interviews, it's fairly structured. The board will have identified questions. There isn't a lot of give and take, but you get a chance to meet all the candidates in the same way. Then there's a debrief, and the board then decides, well, who would be the 1 or 2 candidates that we want to bring back for a more extended roll-up-your-sleeve kind of conversation later that afternoon. So June 5th is the date that we were tentatively identifying for interviews.
Dennis. We lost you. We're sorry.
It's me.
You lost us at April 20th. Let's go back. May 20th. We have May 20th set.
Okay, I really apologize.
No, that's not your fault. We lost connection.
Dennis, I had a question that probably locked up the
We let everybody
internet
else in?
worldwide. And that was, so when we get the applications, when the board members get the applications, is that the best time for us to start conducting our own individual FBI background checks on these people and internet searches, or what do you say to that?
Oh, that's a good point. And Becky, why don't you switch the screen off for a little bit so we have the full screen?
Okay, let's minimize the screen.
There we go. Thank you. Ken, thank you. So I apologize. June 5th is a full day of interviews. It begins in the morning. There's 2 rounds. The first round is a very structured, you've identified the questions, we've looked at those, and you ask the same questions to all candidates. And then you identify who are the top few candidates that you want to bring back in the afternoon. And that afternoon is a roll up your sleeves, have a conversation just like this to see what's the fit really feel like? And you try to identify that final candidate. Ken, to your yes, Tim.
They missed out on the Monday, the 17th, the 3 days in advance of the 20th that will get written stuff from you.
Becky, you want to share that? You're on mute, Becky.
Thank you. What I was saying is that we will send materials to you virtually, where you will review all the application packets. You will also review a draft of interview questions that you will have a chance to provide feedback on. And you'll receive a confidential summary, which is an outline of all the applicants that we received, and they will be categorized in some way that will show the recommendation, the top candidates that went through, clearance with Dennis and the background checks, and he feels strongly that these are going to be the best matches for your district, depending on, and the position description. So we share these materials with you virtually at least 3 days in advance so that you have time to review them and prepare to discuss any revisions and edits that you would like to the interview questions at the meeting. The board will discuss this as a collaborative, group.
Tim, thank you for drawing us back to that. So June 5th will be that date, and it'd be a full day of interviews, 2 rounds. We can go into 2 days if we need to. I think we could probably do it in 1 day. We have, but it provides you the opportunity to have a second round to really go into depth. To Ken's question, when confidentiality is critical, absolutely. If individuals who are applying find out, they get calls and all of a sudden people know their candidates, they'll withdraw and you'll lose candidates. So we really stress the confidentiality. When we share candidates with you, that's with you. To Ken's point, what we will be doing is doing all the background checks, all the vetting ahead of time. We'll share that with you. When you receive it, you're welcome to do whatever Google searches you like. Do background, because we would have done the same thing. We would ask you not to make any contact with anybody in that individual's district, because that's the surest way for us to lose that candidate. So it's a trusting relationship between us that we've done that background work, but you need to do your due diligence in any of the social media outlets that you like, and you'll have 3 days, and then we'll talk about that. Because you may say, oh, I found this article. I say, yes, we did too, and let's talk about that. So I want to make sure that the board's comfortable with that, and that Ken, that satisfactorily answers or addresses your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything? I have something really quick, Dennis. On this, on the first, on slide 6, you had the 4-step, the little, the ring of the success of 25 years, and it says presentation of candidates. So it says that the finalists, including option to presentation by candidates. Does that mean that the candidates will do a presentation for us for that final interview, or you'll do the presentation?
We will be presenting the candidates to the board, but actually, it's a good point. We've often, the boards have talked about, well, how about a little portfolio? How about the opportunity to do an interview for the board to present the candidate to present something to the board that's of interest to you? Like, how have you addressed COVID reopening, or addressing the achievement gap here? So during the interview, that can be the opportunity for the candidate to address something very specific based upon what you think is important.
Thank you. I'd like to talk to my board members, because I think that is very important, just with leadership skills, being able to present, show a plan, and get a feel beyond just a verbal interview process. That makes sense. to you guys. So instead of them just asking questions and answering, they would come and actually do some type of presentation and along as part of their interview process. Tim, do you have anything?
I'm good at dog and pony shows. If I was good at that, I'd probably want that.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And it is interesting because you get a sense of their style, right? How they do something, you know, and because the superintendent does a lot of those things. So it would be just one piece of it. So thank you. We will build that in.
I was just going to say, Kelly, I mean, we may have to morph depending on how many people are presented to us, perhaps, or some sort of time limit. But conceptually, that could be part of it.
I would say this, Dennis, you've laid out a process. You've heard what Kelly had to say. If you want to do a little amendment to what your agreement is and what's defined, please do that.
We can build something like that, and we build time limits of 5 to 7 minutes. So in an hour interview, it's one additional aspect. So yeah, we'll have more time to talk about that and talk about what it is that you may want them to share with the board. So that's something that we will have more conversations on.
Thank you.
Good. So the timeline, Becky, will you bring that up one last time for us? So June 5th, we've identified that. Then the board can or cannot decide to do a validation visit. That can be virtual. We've had lots of different ways that you can visit a school district or have conversations with leaders and stakeholders in that individual school district. And then we were looking at June 10th. So it's a pretty aggressive timeline. That's why I was really pleased that the board moved forward so rapidly, because the process does take time. The board could approve the new superintendent's contract at the June 10th meeting, potentially. You have to do the contract, approve the contract at a regularly scheduled board meeting. So any questions, comments, edits?
Let's look around. I don't think so.
I'm good. Thank you, Dennis. All are good.
Mike Fox, good. I understand the timeline. Thank you, Chad Watford. Thank you.
Good.
All set. Get busy.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Great work. Thank you.
So Becky, we're good to go with that, and we'll get it to Yolanda. And by the way, we will work with Yolanda, Larry, and others. I've identified a template, but there may be other people, individuals. So let's just start at the top. We're going to talk to the board, and then we'd like to chat with the superintendent, the cabinet, or the executive management team. So let's just go through that list. I don't know if I need to identify it, or maybe Kelly, you can help me decide how best to decide. These are the groups or individuals that if you say yes, we'd work with Yolanda, there'd be a personal communication that would go to them. Dear principals, the Board of Education is very interested in getting your feedback on the qualities needed in the new superintendent. Will you come to this meeting on this date? And so we'll set that up.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on this list? Is it comprehensive? Do we delete, or do we add some individuals or groups?
Let's just take a 1 second and let everybody look it over real quick. Go ahead.
Dennis, you conducted the strategic study, correct?
Well, it was Doug Domini, who was a colleague of mine. I turned it over and he did that.
Hey, so that was within your firm.
Yes.
So for sake of continuity and ownership, I would go directly off that stakeholder plan, replicate that, find out who's involved there, and then if there's somebody that's missing from that, that's on this list, then add those from this list. I'm done, thanks.
Yeah. So Mr. King, maybe you and I can work together to see, probably a good majority of those people are here, but let's find out, maybe we'll find out who isn't, and make sure we are included, because obviously they were important.
Yeah, let's let the board have 1 second to look it over, see if how they feel about the list.
I've seen it. I think the list is comprehensive. I think Ken's idea of just circling back and doing a gap assessment relative to the folks involved in the strategic plan to make sure we haven't missed anyone is a good idea. But looking at this list, I think that actually in this small community, probably some of these things won't even apply. I think it's very comprehensive. Thank you.
I would agree with what Mr. Fox said as well. On some of that stuff, I don't think can apply to a small town, but the list seems thorough and complete.
Tim?
There's just some items on there that we as a small community don't have, but that doesn't mean that we think about there might be another name that does the same thing, so we don't need to like focus on just that. But it's better to have them on there, and we can scratch them off if they don't apply, rather than trying to figure out something. So, I want to give everybody an opportunity to contribute.
So thank you. So Dennis, you'll go ahead and work with, or Becky will work with Yolanda and look at the stakeholders that we had previously. Thank you.
Very good. And so, thanks, Becky. You can take that off for now. And so from the board, once we complete that, we'll have the online survey, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Then we'll present a report to you that's pretty detailed. I think it'll be informative and helpful, and perhaps it'll just reaffirm what you know. And then I'll be sending you then a draft position description saying, here's the position description that I think aligns, and then we'll go back and forth and then advertise off of that. We'll also do the online survey. I think you already have that, so we don't have to show it. We have it in multiple languages, although I don't know, maybe just Spanish and English would be necessary. And we'll have that available for 2 weeks also. Any comments from the board on that?
Let's go real quick.
Nothing here, thank you.
Nothing. Thank you.
Nothing.
Okay.
So,
Thank you so much, Dennis. We appreciate you.
Good.
Thank you. And thank you, Becky.
Yeah. Becky, have we covered, is there anything else on the agenda? If you go back to that, have we covered?
I think you're good.
Okay, so
Covered
we're good.
everything.
All right, awesome. So before we go into closed session to deal with personnel items, I think the board has a good sense of the process, how we're going to make sure that I know your need for and desire for strong community engagement. That's going to be a piece that's going to be very important to us to make sure that's there. We've got the timeline in place, and we have the opportunity for all people, including high school kids, and to take the survey and to be part of the community engagement and community members. So I think you've brought the community in to the greatest degree possible. So before we move into closed session, anything else in open session that would be important?
We have a few more items before we go to close, but Dennis, really quickly for some clarity, anyone gets to take the survey, not just the groups that we just discussed, correct?
Yes, thank you.
I just want that for clarity for the community. Yes.
We're going to ask Mr. King and the principals and Ms. Yolanda to push that out to as many people, students, parents, classified teachers, community members. And they'll identify themselves. They'll be anonymous, but they'll identify themselves as a classified, as a teacher. So you get a sense of it, but they won't be tracked individually. So yes, President Jensen, it's for everybody, anybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's go on to 5A, Administrative Regulation AR 6145, Extracurricular and Co-Curricular Activities. This is our second read.
Correct. So you have two items before you. They're both in relation to Administrative Regulation 6145, which has to do with the academic probation periods for our student athletes. We discussed this, more in depth at the last board meeting. So we did fix the only correction I had identified for the board, which is on page 2, paragraph 2. There is a repeat sentence, and you'll see that there's a strike through on the second paragraph of page 2. Again, the red pieces, we've already read through those and highlighted those at the last board meeting. Those are the new pieces being added in. And just for public edification, this is a probation period that's because of the pandemic that gives some allowance to our student athletes who might not otherwise have the opportunity to engage in athletics. And we want to ensure that they have every opportunity to do so under Ed Code and for a time period for the board's comments as well.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move in 5B, Administrative Regulation AR 6145, extracurricular and co-curricular activities. Can I get a motion?
Mike Fox,
Chad Wadsworth, second.
Any questions or comments?
So again, as I said last time, it's very important to me that the certificated staff support this. There's nothing worse than being an English teacher that's getting the weird looks from the football coach because your center is not eligible. So I actually think this makes this a cleaner process as long as we hold to the end day is the end day if you can't get there. And part of this as a student, it's your responsibility, not your parents' responsibility or your teacher's responsibility, but to be engaged in your education. I would say that some people that have confidence in sports may not have confidence in academics, and kind of look at it like maybe the kid that's great in academics doesn't have your confidence in sports. So just communicate where you're at and understand. I think your teachers are going to find that your effort there will be rewarded with your progress in your academic confidence. So thank you.
No, I expressed in the last board meeting that given the circumstances, I support this limited probationary period. You know, our kids have had challenges, and I think there's gonna be some challenges just to the return process. So a big part of participating is the extracurricular activities that build school spirit, and I think there's some rebuilding. And so I support this for the limited duration.
I'll add to the same thing that both Walsgraf and Fox said, that I support this as well in the limited scope that it is. And I would encourage any students out there that may or may not be listening, or parents even, to encourage your kids to engage their teachers and to engage their studies. If they're having difficult times in school, then have them engage their teachers to try to find out how they can better get their grades up. If maybe there's extra credit that could be given, or maybe past assignments were overlooked, or maybe that they didn't do quite as well as one had hoped, that maybe they can retake that assignment. I personally know that in my household, I push both of my boys quite often to engage their teachers in conversation to try to come out with a better result so that their grades stay up. That's all I have.
Tim?
Just as a teacher and a coach, we're not lowering the bar, we're just extending more opportunities during this challenging time so we can get our student athletes to be more successful in their academic endeavors. I'm all for it.
Thank you. And I echo the words of Mr. Jorgensen. It was great coach, great teacher. So I look forward to our students returning. And we heard from students last week, and they talked about how important it was to be engaged in school and participate in activities. So I hope this gives more students opportunity to get back into school and have some great experiences before the summer they leave us. So with that, we'll call for the vote.
Walsgraf, aye.
Mike Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen and I, that's a 5-0 vote. So that is approved. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to closed session at 7:49 p.m. I'll make the motion. Can I get a second?
Mike Fox will second.
Let's call for the vote.
Walsgraf, aye.
Fox, aye. Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, I. That's a 5-0 vote to go to closed session. Okay. Welcome back. Where am I? I'm lost. We're back at 8:38. We have nothing to report out of closed session this evening. Does anybody have anything they want on the calendar?
Paul's got, no, I'm good.
This is Mike. I think our calendar is pretty busy for the next few months.
Chad Wadsworth, I'm booked. I'm good.
And did Tim get on? Tim, are you there? That might be him.
Jordan?
That is him.
That's him?
Yeah. Tim, are you there?
Hey there, Georgie Jim.
There he is.
There he is.
Who knows who that other person is?
Uh-oh, maybe it's our friend from that one meeting.
I think it is him, though. Tim, we were just saying, do you want anything added to the calendar?
There it is.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. Just that, I think, Yolanda, you have the May 20th date that you're going to be sending out some things. Yolanda's going to keep our calendar very busy. Our next regular board meeting is April 22nd. Before we adjourn tonight, I would just like to tell everyone to have a wonderful spring break and to get some rest and enjoy your time with your family. With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:40 p.m.
So moved.
Chad will second, and let's call for the vote.
Paul's got, aye.
Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgen tonight.
Kelly Jensen, aye. That's a 5-0 to adjourn. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
April